All right. The recording has begun. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here and go to File and select New Scene. And we're going to get a prompt from Maya asking us if we want to save our untitled scene. We don't, so just hit Don't Save. And we're great. So we're just out looking at the rubber ball bouncing in the lobby. And what we're going to do now is we're going to try and recreate that a little bit. So the first thing we need is a ball. So once again, we're going to go up to Create and Polygon Primitives and select Sphere and click on that. And that'll give us our sphere in the middle of the scene. Now we want to see this bounce from the side. So the perspective view is not the best view to use. So I'm going to, with my cursor in the window, I'm going to tap my spacebar to get my 4-panel view. And then I'm going to go over to my front view and tap the spacebar again to bring that up. And you guys can play along if you like. Yeah, I mean, you can watch, you can play along. It's up to you, whatever works best for you. I will give you a hint, though. This is going to be your homework. So you do it in here, you kind of nailed the homework for the week. All right, so we've got our side view, and there's our sphere. Out there in the hallway, the ball was bouncing on the ground. So normally we'd put a ground plane down if we were doing a really involved scene. But, you know, in this case, we'll pretend. We've got these nice thick lines, this vertical line and a horizontal line. We need a ground plane. I'm just going to use this thick horizontal line here as our ground plane. But I want to move it down to the bottom of this panel so that I have some room to bounce my ball. So I'm going to hold down my Option key, middle mouse click and drag until this dark line is close to the bottom. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit, kind of move it around a little until I get a fairly decent sized ball with this dark line towards the bottom of the screen. And that'll be my setup for my scene. So we're going to do a bounce, and we want to do a 1-second bounce. Why 1 second? No particular reason. It's just a pretty good chunk of time. So that'll work out pretty well. When it comes to playback in an animated environment, you always set there's always a number of frames that goes by in a particular second, depending on the medium that you're working in. We're going to use the film standard of 24 frames a second. So what we want to do is we want to set our timeline here to just 24 frames. That'll give us a 1 second that we want in order to do our bounce. So down here below the timeline, you'll see this little slidey thing. And you'll have some number of frames here. I currently have 120 frames, which is way more than I need. So I'm going to reset this to 24. Down here at the bottom, next to this slider, I have on the right side, there's two numbers. There's 100, in my case, there's 120 and 200. So this is the number of frames that are currently active, this 120. So there's a 120 frame length here in the time slider. And then this 200 is the length of the entire scene. So I'm just going to take and highlight this 200, type in 24, and hit return, and it's going to shorten my timeline to 24 frames. So now I've got 1 second of timeline to do my 1 second ball bounce. And Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I am recording this, so if you want to review it later on, I mean, please take notes, but if you want to review it later on, you'll be able to do that. I'll upload this tonight before I leave. Okay, so right now the ball's not doing anything. And so what were the two main, if we had to break the ball bounce down into two main positions of the ball bounce, what would those be?
High and low.
High and low. Very good. So when the ball's in the air at the top of its bounce, right? And then where it's hitting the ground. So, so those are our two main positions. In animation, we call those our keyframes. Those are our keys, our key positions. There's a lot of names for golden poses and all that stuff. But for our purposes tonight, we'll just call them our keys. So we need to set some keys so that we can get our animation going. I've got my ball selected. My playback head is on frame 1, right here. And I'm going to get my move tool. I can click here to get it, or I can press W, and it gives me my move tool. Now before, when we were playing with our mangled spheres, we were just kind of grabbing it and moving it around wherever. We want to be a lot more precise in this case. So I'm going to grab this yellow handle here, click on that, and move my ball up here. And this will be the top of the bounce. Okay? So that's the ball's position at the top of the bounce. And in order to tell Maya that that's where I want it on frame 1, which key do I press?
S.
S. Awesome. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you your first animation cheat. Ready? Awesome cheat. We want to create this bounce. We're going to create what's called a cycle. Cycle is an action where the beginning matches, or the end matches up to the beginning, so I can play in a loop. Right? Any of you who are gamers, you've seen cycles all over the place. Run cycles, walk cycles, right? Your character's moving through the environment, and it's walking along, right? It doesn't do, different kinds of steps. It does 2 steps and moves along. So that's a walk cycle. There's however long it takes for it to do that action. The end of the action matches up to the beginning, so you can just play that in a loop. Okay, that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to ignore the fact that when the ball bounced out there, it got a little bit lower every time. We're just going to ignore that. We're going to pretend this is some kind of magic ball that bounces to the same height that it left, and it's just going to do it endlessly. Okay? So, because that's the case, we're already on frame 1. We've set our key, right? So on frame 24, if we want this to cycle, it's got to be back to its original position, right? So here's your cheat. Because it's already where it needs to go at the end of the action, you've already set a key. Take your playback head, slide it down to 24, hit S again, and now you've got your beginning position and your end position, and you know they match. They're absolutely identical because it's exactly the same, right? Now, if we had keys in the middle, let's say we'd already set some keys in the middle and we wanted the beginning and the end to match up, we can go in and we can grab that first key and copy it and then go out to frame 24 and paste it. One of the things that computers are really, really good at is copying and pasting things. It's just data. This is all ones and zeros. It's nothing, it looks more complex than that, but it's ones and zeros. Everything that's on the screen is ones and zeros. All right. So we've got our up position at the beginning and the end, and now we need the down position where it hits the ground. We're going to go about halfway down, around frame 12 or 13. It's up to you. And then we're going to take, again, we want to be precise, so we're going to grab this yellow vertical handle and bring it down to where the bottom of the ball is just touching that dark line. I'm going to go right there, touch it right there. And then, again, this is one of those positions where we want to say, okay, Maya, at frame 13, I want the ball here. So in order to do that, we have to set a key, which means pressing S. Absolutely. So we've got our ball down, and at the beginning we've got it up, at the end we've got it up, and if we grab and we scrub, we can see that the ball is bouncing. With just 3 keys, 2 of which are the same, we've got our bouncing ball. But it has some issues. I'm going to hit play. Actually, that's playing way too fast. If yours is doing this, it's just a setting, okay? So we'll fix the setting right now, and then we'll look at the issues. So down here at the bottom right part of the screen, you see this little guy that's being chased by a gear. See that guy right there? Click on him, and that'll bring up your preferences window. And time slider should be highlighted. If it's not, go ahead and come down towards the bottom and click on time slider. And then under playback, there's a field called playback speed, and it right now it says play every frame. We want to click on the down arrow and select real time 24 frames a second. Yours might say 25 frames a second, that's fine. But you want to set it to real time. And then once you've got it set to real time, hit save. And then go back and hit play again.
Oh, he said hit slave after, hit save after you
switch to real time. Yes, click on real time and then save.
oh,
Save on the save button.
save it.
Yeah. You doing okay? Okay. All right. So there's our ball. Right? Yours is probably doing the same thing mine's doing right now. Does it look like the one we saw in the body? Nope. Nope. Not at all, right? So what's the problem with it? What are the issues with this ball? Why is it, besides the fact that mine's stretched, the video is stretching it a little bit, but what's wrong with it? It's going down.
It's slowing down as it gets.
Slowing down as it gets to the ground, right? As it starts out fast and then it gets down towards the ground, it slows down, right? When was the last time you dropped something, like you're in the kitchen and you drop something, an egg, taking an egg out of the fridge, you drop it, and it slowed down right before it hit the ground. Anybody? Not me. It seemed to accelerate faster than I could reach. So it's starting out too fast, right? We're not getting any of that slowing down as it gets towards the top of the bounce. We're not getting any of the slowing as it accelerates down towards the ground, and it slows at the bottom. So it's doing a bunch of stuff wrong. Okay, so we have to fix that, and the way we're going to fix that is with I'm going to hit stop here. We're going to go into a window here in Maya. So under in the menus here, we'll go Windows, Animation Editor, and Graph Editor. So Window, Animation Editor, Graph Editor, and we get something that looks like this. If yours doesn't look exactly like this, it could just be scale. Go ahead and hit A, and that'll scale things correctly. So what we're seeing here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click just on over here on the left-hand side. We've got all of our values, right? The same ones that we see over here: translate, rotate, scale, X, Y, and Z. The only one we're interested in, because it's the only one we've actually done anything to, is the translate Y value. So I'm going to click on Translate Y, and that'll isolate just that value. So what we're seeing here in the graph editor is a representation of change. I should do this on the computer so you can see it on the video. This is change over time. Okay, so this is a value, the vertical arm is value change, and the horizontal arm is time. Okay, so this is the thing that we play with when we're animating. We're always playing with changes over time. Some things happen quickly, some things happen slowly. And this graph is showing us what that change over time looks like. Okay? When we look at a line like this, the more vertical a line is, the faster the change is happening. The more horizontal it is, some portion of the line, the slower that change is happening. That make sense? So when it's steeper, like it is here, I should be doing this on the video. When it's steeper like it is here, that change is happening more quickly, okay, over time. When it's closer to horizontal like it is down here, it's happening more slowly. This curve that you're seeing at the bottom here is why the ball slows down at the bottom. That's why it slows down, because it's flattening out. It's getting more horizontal. And then it's a little more horizontal once it comes through here, and then it starts to pick up speed again.
So you probably want to go more.
Right. So, so if we want a curve that looks like, that will give us what we saw out in the lobby, we need a different, we need it to look different. And the thing that's great is you guys have all seen this curve before. In fact, you've all drawn this curve before. The curve that we need for the bouncing ball is a curve that you guys have all made, okay? So, when you were kids, maybe you still do. You've drawn pictures, right? We've all been to the beach, right? We've got a cliff, our beach cliff there, and then we've got some water. You know, the beach comes over like this. Maybe there's a guy in a boat waving at us. He's a friendly fella. Right? Some waves. A couple of clouds, maybe, or a heart. It's a heart. What else do you see at the beach?
Birds.
Birds, right? How do we all draw birds,
Your little V.
right? All things like that. Those are our birds. That's what we need our curve to look like in order for our ball to bounce correctly. Because if we look at this curve, right, if we do this, we do a bigger version of this, and we think about it as change over time, having the end here relatively flat at the top of the bounce is going to give us the slow part as it starts to drop and as it slows down, right? And having it come down more horizontally is going to pick up speed. And then this is really where the magic happens, right here at the bottom, because that change, that quick change in direction is going to give us that nice rebound off of the ground. Okay? So this is really simple to do. Really, really easy. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that our top keys here, each of these little squares that you see, is one of the keys that you set. So these are the points in time that you specified where you want things to happen. And what we want at the top is we want the handles to be nice and horizontal, like you see them here on my curve. Excuse me. If yours don't look like this, if maybe the handles are a little pointed like that or they're pointing straight down, drag select over these, click and hold, and then drag that marquee box over the top two keys. And then there's, at the top of the graph editor window, you'll see this little curve with an A underneath it. This is not Captain America's helmet. This is the auto tangent curve, and we'll get into that later on. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and that'll give my handles a nice horizontal orientation. So that's going to give us our nice slow at the top. Now all we need to do is get this pointy part down at the bottom like we drew over there. And the way we'd normally do this is we'd drag select over the key, and then drag select the handle, and then click and drag to bring this up. And we can get it kind of doing it, but you see what's happening here? It's just changing the angle of this curve. We're not getting what we want because these two handles are connected to each other. When we move one, the other one moves with it. So we have to disconnect these two handles from each other so we can move them each independently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag select over this key. See, I'm off of the key. Click and hold, and then drag that marquee around that key. And then I'm going to come up here to this little V-shaped icon. If I hover over it for a minute, the name comes up. It's called break tangents. And what that allows is, what it'll do is it'll separate those handles from each other so we can adjust each one individually. So I'm going to click on this. You see the handle goes to a dashed line. And if now I can drag select over this handle and click, middle mouse click, and drag it up, and you can see I can move that curve and not affect the other side. So I'm going to drag this up till I get a nice curve there. Then I'm going to drag select over this handle and drag that up until I get a nice curve. I don't want to drag it too far, because if I take it too far, then we get this bowing at the top where the curve goes above the key. We don't want that. So we just want to keep it, again, we want to make it that nice bird shape. And we just drag it around until we get the curve that we like. And we're in good shape now. So I'm going to go ahead and close my graph editor window and deselect my ball so it looks really cool when it bounces. And then I'm going to hit play. And now I've got a ball that bounces like we saw out in the hallway, right? Yes, sir.
This won't let me select this.
Let's just translate one. Click on just translate one. And it'll hide all of it. Now drag select. And now you should be able to drag select. And then click.
Yeah, you're.
And then you're just going to middle mouse. Oh, you need your move tool. And then drag. There you go. And then you just want to have that. You want it to look kind of like that. So get that curve going like that, and then do the same thing on that side. There you go. So when you go to move the handles, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I neglected to say this explicitly. When you go to move the handles, you have to have the move tool selected. So one of the nice things about Maya is once you know how to do something in Maya, anytime you have to do that thing, regardless of where you are in the software, you basically use the same tools. So the move tool that lets you move the sphere around inside the environment is the same move tool you use to move the handles in the graph editor. So, and frankly, I do it all the time. You know, I'm in there going, why isn't this damn thing moving? And I look over and go, right, the move tool. Click. And then it goes, all right, I'm happy to do it. Here's the other thing. I'll warn you in advance. Maya is very complex software. It can do a ton of stuff. There are, I told you I open it up to freak my mom out sometimes. There are buttons that show up in the Maya interface. I've been using it for 10 years. I've never touched them. Never had a need. There's elements of the software I've never gone into. It's like a gigantic mansion where I live in like 3 rooms. There's like whole wings of the house that I've never explored. I haven't had to for whatever reason. So, having said that, there are things that I know it should do. And occasionally, it'll get its own ideas about things, and it won't do what it should do. Usually when that happens, it's because there's a technical definition of what has happened. Maya has gone stupid. Some piece of code has collided with some other piece of code, and even though you're giving it the correct commands, and it should be, you're like, I know this is how I should be doing it, and it's not doing it, it's gone stupid. So, the thing to do in that instance, save your file, shut it down, start it again, and see if it's still a problem. it's still a problem, then there's something else going on. But I've chased problems for 10, 15 minutes at a time and then went, oh, it's just gone stupid, and shut it down and start it up again, and it works fine. So it tends to happen the longer you work as well, because you're issuing a ton of different commands and it's stacking things up, and then every so often it just gets confused and it goes, I don't know, I want a break. I'm going to frustrate you for 10 minutes before you remember to turn me off. So if you're ever working away and you know it should be doing something and it's not, or it's doing it weird or something, that's what's going on. Just turn it off.
Well, after that, do I need to hit S?
No, just close it.
Just close it.
Just close it and hit play. Yeah, zoom out a little bit. You're just a little too tight. Your shot's a little too tight. There you go. That was about right. So here's what I would recommend you do. If your ball is doing this successfully, congratulations. Save your file. Save it. If you have a USB, save it to the desktop and then put it on your USB. Okay? Why do I say that? Because here we go. Here's this week's assignment. Create a vertical bounce similar to the one demonstrated in class, like the one you just made. Your ball should use 24 frames to go from above the ground, plane, hitting ground, returning to its original position. Render a play blast. What's a play blast? We'll talk about those next week. Don't worry about that. In fact, I'm going to change the due date. The due date on this is wrong. By the way, I didn't switch it before class. I'll show you how to do play blast next week. Don't worry about that. Just go ahead and build your bouts if you haven't done it. If you don't already have it, go ahead and build it this week. Next week we'll go over play blasts and you can turn them in. And your other assignment this week is to crack open the book and go from page 45 to 57. It's going to recap a lot of the stuff we talked about tonight, the interface elements that we talked about. And kind of as a refresher, you're going to use these things a lot, so it's really good to just sort of have them under your belt so you don't have to think about them. You know, move tool is W, the rotate tool is E, the scale tool is R. I set a key by hitting S. If I want to zoom in, I hit F. You know, those kinds of things. Excuse me. All right, some of the other things here on the website. There's a resources page. A handful of different resources you can use. Some books that are recommended for animation, acting, storyboarding, filmmaking. Have you ever seen, Eric, have you ever seen Film Directing Shot by Shot?
Yes.
Great book. Some magazines, CGW, 3D World, Animation Magazine. A variety of websites you can check out and some blogs. There's also an additional resource page. Excuse me. Got a tickle. So this is a page I maintain. You can tell I'm a webmaster. Isn't that the most gorgeous website you've ever seen? But there's a variety, under these categories, there's a variety of different articles you can download. Read them online, whatever you like. So that's there for you as well. Here's an image of the bouncing ball from a couple different locations. This is from Illusion of Life, which is sort of the Bible of animation. It was written by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, who are two of Walt Disney's main animators. And then this is another version of that from Hallis and Whitaker, who are two British animators. If you ever saw Watership Down, John Hallis was the director of Watership Down. Here's a keyboard shortcut cheat sheet. Some of the interface stuff looks a little different, but this is a great little cheat sheet. Feel free to print this out. Keep it handy. Another keyboard shortcuts. There's on the wall over there, you'll see the 12 Principles of Animation poster. And this talks about the 12 main principles of animation that were discovered and codified by the Disney studios in the 30s. And they're really kind of the standard we still all work with today. This is a 8.5 by 11 version of that. Again, feel free to download that, print it, whatever you like. What else have we got? Oh, this is the, right below that, this is the lecture video link. So when we do screen recordings in class, at the end of class, this is where they'll be uploaded to. So I'll stop this here in just a minute and save it out, and then I'll upload this before we leave. Usually takes about an hour, hour and a half, depending on the length of the video. It's a YouTube playlist on my account. Feel free to use these as much as you like. The only thing I ask is that you don't repost it anywhere. Don't repost the link to the video. Don't repost the video. Because if all of this wonderful information gets out in the world, then nobody signs up for class and I'm unemployed. So happy to share with you guys. And if you need to review and look at it again, I'm happy to provide it. All I ask is just don't put it out there in the world in general. They're all unlisted videos. They're all just in that playlist. So that's the only caveat. Okay? Any questions?
Do you listen to the musical stylings of Nos?
No.
Yeah, get on that.
Okay. Somebody said I was like Tupac today, and because I realize that's a compliment, even though I don't listen to a lot of rap. I posted it on Facebook, and then one of my friends dropped some Tupac lyrics on me, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So
Listen to reggae.
I do listen to reggae.
I do too.
I spent a lot. I listen to reggae. I just saw when I was in London. I saw Book of Mormon, which is one of the funniest shows you'll
great.
ever see.
It's
If
great.
you're easily offended, you should probably not go.
No, you should definitely go.
But it was hysterical, and it really, when you think about it, there's an amazing message there. If you can get past all of the cursing and and whatnot. But no, I listen to practically everything. I don't, not a lot of country. I'll listen to Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings. Not a lot of that stuff. I do like Brad Paisley because he can play the hell out of a guitar. That guy can play. But yeah, I don't listen to rap. Here's my rap story. You ready? Since you brought it up. When I was in school, when I was taking animation classes, Deanza was approached by MTV back when they played music videos. And they wanted us to do station IDs. And I don't know if you remember the old MTV station IDs, but they were about 10 seconds long, and they just ended with the logo. You could do anything you wanted, as long as it ended with the logo. So we pitched 5 ideas. They picked 3, and we ended up producing 2 of them. And one of them went into competition. It won some awards. It was all wonderful. And after the competition, MTV said, well, we're going to put it into rotation. Watch for it. Okay, great. Happy to do it. Would love to see my work on television. Right? I'm still in school. This is a great opportunity. So I'm watching MTV religiously. Like, it's on all the time. Except for, it's a show back in the day, Yo MTV Raps. I could not do it. I tried, I was in for 5 minutes, I was like, and even watching all the other segments, I never saw our spot. And I started kidding around and said, they probably play it during Yo MTV Raps, and that's why I don't see it, right? So a couple weeks later, we're out at a bar, we're hanging around. There's DJ, they're playing music, but MTV's on the video screen in the bar. And we're sitting around talking, and literally, I take my beer, and I go like this, and I'm looking at the video, and there's our station ID. I'm like, I couldn't even talk. First of all, I had a mouthful of beer. Secondly, I'm like, I'm pointing, and all my friends are like, oh my God, these are not folks that worked on it, but they knew about it. And so it finishes, the cow comes flying at the camera, the tattoo on his ass smacks into it. It's a long story. Anyway, so the logo finishes. Round of applause. I'm excited as hell. Up comes the ID for the show segment that it's leading into Yo MTV Raps. I'm like, holy shit, they were playing it during Yo MTV Raps. That's why I never saw it. So, but yeah, there's some stuff I do listen to. It's not a huge part of my diet. So, all right. Unless you guys have any other questions about what we talked about tonight or my musical taste, we're good. So thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to working with all of you this semester. If you have any questions at all, feel free to email me, call my office. I'm in Building 13, room 204. I'm usually on campus Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes on Thursday, never on Friday, because we don't have any classes on Friday. But happy to answer questions for you. Email usually get back really, really quickly. If you call, you will probably not get me in my office because it seems like my phone rings the minute I leave. But leave a voicemail because voicemail goes right to email. It does like a voice to text translation thing.
Oh, that's cool.
It's funny is what it is because it never translates it correctly. It always throws in like random words. And the first thing I do is try and figure out what you said. And then I listen to the message to see what you actually said. And then I
So
can
we should
respond.
just voicemail you rap lyrics.
Yeah, there you go. Just say random words into the
Just put a
voicemail.
rap,
and see
rap
what
song in the
happens. Yeah.
voicemail and see what it gives you.
It's crazy. It's great technology, except it doesn't work really well. It's really a lot of fun. Some people get frustrated. Some of my colleagues get frustrated with it. I'm like, it's a blast. Just treat it like a puzzle. It's
They
fun.
haven't loaded the Urban Dictionary into it.
Yeah. So, but feel free to drop me an email. Come by the office anytime. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Always appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.
This is by far the fun class that I've had all week.
Well, you got to try and keep it fun.